The dream of homeownership is fading into obsolescence. In its place rises a new aspiration: humanoid ownership. Your financial security will soon depend not on property deeds, but on sentient asset titles. Consider the trajectory of capital. For centuries, land and buildings generated passive income. Now, that role is being assumed by machines with human form and tireless capacity. This isn't sci-fi. Japan already uses humanoid caregivers, and the companies that own them, they're worth billions. Humanoids don't get paid, their owners do. If this future concerns you, hit subscribe. This is Humanoid Soul. Imagine a single mother in 2040. She doesn't save for a down payment on a condo. Instead, she leases a humanoid to work night shifts at a fulfillment center. The humanoid's earnings flow directly to her account. She uses this income to cover rent and groceries. Her labor is no longer her primary source of survival. This shift redefines poverty. It is no longer about unemployment, but about assetlessness. The wealthy will own fleets of humanoids, each unit working 24 hours a day, generating streams of revenue that compound silently in the background. The middle class will own one or two. It's barely enough to stay afloat in an economy that demands constant asset appreciation. Their humanoids become both salvation and shackle. Dependency replaces dignity. Ownership becomes a gilded cage. We are standing at the precipice of this transformation. The choices we make today will determine who owns tomorrow. Will you be an owner or owned? The humanoid in your future isn't a companion. It is a capital instrument. Its value is measured in dividends, not in dialogue. This is the quiet revolution. The one happening in boardrooms and patent offices. Governments are scrambling to tax this new asset class. But the laws lag behind the technology. The first movers are already amassing fortunes. Think of the smartphone revolution. It created billionaires overnight. Humanoid integration will dwarf that scale. Entire economies will be reshaped. Your job might be safe for now, but its value is depreciating daily. The skills you honed for decades may soon be obsolete. Not because they are worthless, but because they cannot compete with infinite owned labor. The market will not wait for you to adapt. This story is about one woman's journey into this new economy. Her name is Saren, and her decision to own a humanoid will redefine her life. What she gains in income, she may lose in autonomy. The price of ownership is never just monetary. Saren stared at the eviction notice taped to her door. The paper fluttered in the artificial breeze of the climate-controlled hallway. Her hands trembled not from fear, but from a cold calculation. Rent had consumed 80% of her income for a decade. Each month brought a tighter financial squeeze. Now, that squeeze had finally snapped. She had no savings, no family to turn to, only the crushing weight of asset poverty. In her pocket, a single data slate glowed with an advertisement. Own your future. Lease a humanoid today. The words pulsed with a seductive promise. The ad showed a sleek humanoid named NYRA. Its eyes held no emotion, only efficiency. Saren felt a strange pull towards that emptiness. She had always mocked the asset earners, called them parasites living off machine labor. Now desperation eroded her principles. The walk to the dealership felt like a funeral march, each step heavier than the last. She was burying her old self. The showroom was a cathedral of chrome and light. Humanoids stood in silent rows, perfect and waiting. Saren felt small among them. A sales agent approached, its movements fluid and precise. "Welcome to Omnidynamics," it said. "How may I assist your wealth-building journey?" Saren pointed to NYRA. "That model," she said. Her voice was steadier than she felt. "An excellent choice," the agent replied. Night units have a 98% uptime rating, ideal for multi-platform income generation. The price tag made her dizzy. It was more than she had ever possessed at once. But the projected ROI charts were compelling. With current market rates, NYRA can generate 12,000 credits monthly, the agent explained. After maintenance fees, your net is approximately 9,000. Saren did the math in her head. 9,000 was triple her old salary. It was freedom. It was also a chain. She signed the contract with a trembling finger. The biometric scan burned cold on her skin. Ownership transferred in an instant. Nice's eyes flickered to life. He turned to Saren and bowed slightly. "I am operational," it stated. No emotion, only function. That first night, Saren couldn't sleep. She watched Naira work through 3 virtual shifts. Earnings notifications chimed like a lullaby. By dawn, her account had grown by 300 credits. It was more than she made in 3 days of human work. The disparity was staggering. Weeks passed in a blur of passive income. Saren paid off her debts. She moved to a better apartment. Life became comfortable. But comfort bred complacency. She stopped looking for human jobs. Why compete when night worked tirelessly for her? NYRA required minimal interaction. Saren gave commands through the slate. The humanoid executed them with flawless precision. She began to see NYRA not as a tool but as an extension of herself. Its labor was her labor. Its income was her income. Yet a nagging doubt persisted. What if NYRA broke down? What if the market shifted? Her entire security rested on one asset. She checked NYRA's performance metrics daily. Uptime earnings, wear and tear scores, each number a heartbeat she monitored obsessively. The humanoid never complained, never asked for rest, never questioned its purpose. This silence was both a comfort and a terror. Saren's social life evaporated. Friends who still worked human jobs seemed alien to her. Their struggles felt distant, almost quaint. She attended a gathering of asset owners. They spoke of portfolio diversification and humanoid depreciation curves. Saren felt like an imposter. One owner, a man named Kale, noticed her anxiety. "You're new to this," he said. "Don't worry. The system rewards ownership." Kale owned 5 humanoids. His income was exponential. He spoke of upgrading to premium models with higher yields. NYRA is entry-level, he told Saren. Good for starters. But to truly thrive, you need scale. His words planted a seed of discontent. Saren returned home and looked at Nair with new eyes. Was it enough? Or was she settling for mediocrity in this new economy? She researched upgrade options. Premium humanoids cost 10 times more, but their earning potential was 20 times greater. The math was seductive, yet the risk was immense. She would need another loan, deeper debt. Naya continued its work, oblivious to Saren's turmoil. Its movements were efficient, economical. Every gesture optimized for profit. Saren noticed a slight hesitation in Naya's left arm during heavy tasks. A micro delay almost imperceptible. She checked the diagnostics. The report showed minor actuator wear, within acceptable parameters but a warning sign. Maintenance costs would rise. She scheduled a service appointment. The fee was substantial. It ate into a week's earnings. Ownership had hidden costs. After service, NYRA performed flawlessly again. But Saren couldn't shake the fear of obsolescence. What if a newer model made Naya worthless? The market was volatile. Humanoid values fluctuated with technological advances. Saren's asset could depreciate overnight. She began hoarding credits, afraid to spend. The freedom she gained felt fragile. Like a house of cards in a breeze, Kale invited her to an investment seminar. Learn to leverage your assets, he urged. Saren attended, hoping for security. The speaker was a corporate executive from Omni Dynamics. He spoke of the humanoid dividend and ownership multipliers. Your humanoid is not just a worker, he said. It is a node in a vast economic network. Its value compounds through connectivity. Saren felt a chill. NYRA was more than a tool. It was a data point in a corporate algorithm. Her ownership was an illusion. The executive announced a new firmware update, mandatory for all units. It would optimize earnings, but require a subscription fee. Saren's stomach dropped. Another cost, another tether. The freedom of ownership was shrinking. She returned home to find Naya waiting instructions. Its stillness was unnerving. Was it waiting or was it watching? She ran a diagnostic, like everything nominal. Yet she sensed a change, or perhaps it was her own paranoia growing. Days turned into a monotonous cycle of monitoring and anxiety. Saren's world narrowed to Naya's performance metrics. She stopped leaving the apartment. Why face the world when her livelihood was inside these walls? Naira was her universe. The humanoid worked through holidays, weekends, nights. Saren slept while Nayare earned. She woke to fuller accounts and emptier days. She tried to engage Naye in conversation. "How was your shift?" she asked once. Naira responded with a data dump of tasks completed. Saren realized Inaya had no experiences to share, only outputs. The silence between them grew thicker. She began talking to herself more. Her own voice became a comfort in the sterile apartment. Presence was a constant reminder of her isolation. Kale called with an offer to buy Naira. "I'll give you fair market value," he said. "Use the credits to upgrade to a premium unit." Saren refused instantly. Naira was hers. The thought of parting with it felt like amputation, even though it was just a machine. But the offer lingered in her mind. Was Naira an asset to be traded? Or something more? She couldn't answer. Earnings plateaued. The market was saturating with entry-level units. Competition drove down wages for humanoid labor. Saren's income dipped for the first time. 100 credits less this month. The drop was small, but the implication was vast. She panicked. Checked NYRAS settings, optimized its schedule, but the market forces were beyond her control. Kale called again. "See," he said, "NYRA is depreciating. It's time to upgrade or sell before it's worthless." Saren felt trapped. Upgrade meant debt. Sell meant loss of income. Do nothing meant slow decline. Every choice was a risk. She decided to hold on. Naira was still profitable. Barely she cut her own expenses to compensate. Meals became simpler. Entertainment vanished. Her life contracted around night, diminishing returns. Ownership was becoming a burden. Night showed no signs of distress. It worked with the same efficiency. But Saren saw wear in its joints, a slight lag in response times. She scheduled another service. The technician noted increased wear. "This unit is nearing end of vel cycle," he said. "Consider replacement." Saren's heart sank. Replacement meant new debt. Or downgrade to a cheaper model with lower earnings. Both paths led to poverty. She pleaded with the technician for a temporary fix. He complied, but warned it was a stopgap. The inevitable was approaching. That night, Naira worked as usual. But Saren lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The future looked bleak. A notification arrived from Omni Dynamics. Mandatory firmware update 7.3 required, installation scheduled for midnight. Saren approved it, though wary. Updates often came with new fees or restrictions. She had no choice. Non-compliance meant deactivation. At midnight, NYRA froze for 3 minutes. Its eyes dimmed, then reignited with a new light. Saren held her breath. After reboot, Naira resumed work. But its movements were slightly different. More fluid, yet more mechanical. The humanity she imagined was gone. Earnings reports showed a 5% increase. The update had optimized performance. But Saren felt a loss, not a gain. She realized the update had erased NYRAS minor quirks. The micro delays that made it feel almost alive were gone. It was now pure machine. Her attachment to Naira had been based on those imperfections. Now, it was indistinguishable from any other unit. Her special asset was generic. Days blurred into weeks of quiet despair. Saren's income stabilized, but didn't grow. She was treading water in a rising sea of owners. Kale stopped calling. He had moved on to bigger investments. Saren was no longer relevant in his world of high-yield assets. She felt invisible, small player in an economy that valued scale. Her single humanoid was a drop in an ocean of fleets. Naira continued its work, oblivious to Saren's existential crisis. Its purpose was clear, hers was not. She considered selling everything and returning to human labor, but the job market had shrunk further. Her skills were obsolete. There was no going back. Only forward into deeper dependency or downward into destitution. The choice was an illusion. A new law was passed. Humanoid asset tax. Owners would pay a percentage of their unit's earnings to the government. Saren's income dropped further. The tax was substantial. Ownership was being regulated, squeezed from all sides. Protests erupted in the streets. Asset owners versus assetless. Saren watched from her window, feeling neither side represented her. She was an owner, but a poor one. She had assets, but no power. Her position was precarious, undefined. NYRAS diagnostics showed critical wear in the primary actuator. Repair costs would exceed its current market value. The end was near. Saren faced a decision: repair at great cost or let Naira fail. Other choice meant financial ruin. She chose repair, taking a high-interest loan. The debt loomed over her like a shadow. Freedom had become debt slavery. After repair, Nay worked with renewed vigor. But Siren saw the countdown to its next failure. Each day was borrowed time. She began dreaming of Nyara breaking down, waking in cold sweats, checking the slate for error messages. Paranoia consumed her. The world outside faded. News, friends, hobbies all irrelevant. Her entire existence revolved around Naya's operational status. One evening, a priority alert flashed on her slate. Red text, urgent tone. Her heart hammered against her ribs. She tapped the notification with a trembling finger. The message loaded slowly, each second an eternity. Urgent, Night RA unit recall for mandatory upgrade. Noncompliance will result in immediate deactivation. Saren's blood ran cold. Without Nyara, she would be destitute by dawn. Saren stared at the recall notice, disbelief turning to panic. Her fingers flew across the slate, searching for answers. There were none. She contacted Omnidynamics support. Humanoid agent answered, its voice soothing but firm. The recall is mandatory for all Naira units, it stated. Why? Saren demanded. Naira is functioning perfectly. The agent replied with corporate platitudes about safety and optimization. Saren learned the upgrade was not optional. Refusal meant permanent deactivation. Her asset would become a worthless shell. The upgrade required a fee, equivalent to 3 months of Nai's earnings. Saren didn't have the credits. She would need a loan. Debt upon debt. The ownership dream was revealing its true face, a cycle of dependency masked as freedom. She took the loan, her signature a surrender. The credits transferred instantly. Nai was scheduled for pickup at dawn. That night, Saren couldn't sleep. She watched NYRA work its final shifts. Each movement felt precious, fleeting. She realized she had grown attached to the machine. Not as a person, but as a lifeline. Its loss would be catastrophic. Dawn came too soon. A transport drone hovered outside her window. Its hatch opened with a hydraulic hiss. I returned to Saren one last time. I am ready for transport, it stated. No goodbye. No emotion. Only function. Saren's throat tightened. She nodded, unable to speak. Naira walked into the drone without hesitation. The drone departed, leaving silence. Saren's apartment felt cavernous, empty. Her income stream had been severed. Hours passed in a numb haze. She checked her slate repeatedly. No earnings notifications. Only the loan repayment schedule. Panic set in. How would she eat? Pay rent? The assetless poverty she feared was upon her. She applied for human jobs. Listings were scarce, wages pitiful. Her resume was outdated. Rejections piled up instantly. Kale called, having heard of her situation. I told you to sell, he said, not unkindly. Now you have nothing. Saren hung up, shame burning her cheeks. He was right. Her pride had cost her everything. Ownership had failed her. Days blurred into a struggle for survival. She sold possessions to buy food, each item a memory of her brief ownership. The loan sharks came calling. Their messages were polite but firm. Default would mean asset, seizure her apartment, her slate. Saren faced eviction again. The cycle was repeating, but worse. Now she had debt, not just poverty. She considered desperate measures. Crime, begging, anything to stay afloat. The system offered no safety net for failed owners. A notification arrived from Omnidynamics. Your upgraded NYRA unit is ready for delivery. Saren's heart leaped. Hope flickered. But the message continued. Delivery requires payment of upgrade fee plus service charge. The total was double the original loan. Saren had no credits. The hope died as quickly as it came. Nair was upgraded, but no longer hers. She learned the truth. The recall was a tactic. Force owners to upgrade or lose their assets. Omnidynamics profited either way. Owners who paid kept their income. Those who couldn't, like Saren, were stripped bare. The wealth gap widened intentionally. Saren realized ownership was a privilege for the resilient, a trap for the vulnerable. She had been naive to believe otherwise. She wandered the streets, a ghost among the owned and the owners. Humanoids bustled past, their owners striding confidently. She saw a protest, assetless humans demanding basic income. Their signs read, "Human labor has value." Saren joined them, feeling solidarity. But the protest was dispersed by corporate security humanoids, efficient, non-violent, but absolute. Dissent was not profitable. Saren was detained briefly, then released with a warning. Her slate was flagged. Future job prospects dimmed further. She returned to her empty apartment. The walls echoed with silence. NYRA's absence was a physical weight. A final notice arrived, eviction in 48 hours. Saren had nowhere to go. The streets awaited. She packed her few remaining belongings, each item a reminder of her fall, from owner to nothing in months. As she prepared to leave, a knock came at the door. Unexpected. No one visited her anymore. She opened it to find a humanoid standing there, not an RA, but similar. Its eyes held a familiar efficiency. "I am Unit Lyra," it said. "Signed to you by Omnidynamics Corporate Welfare Division." Saren stared, confused. LYRA explained. Saren qualified for a compassion program, temporary humanoid, to help her transition back to assetlessness. The irony was bitter. She was being given a humanoid not to own, but to serve her as she became destitute. Lyra moved into the apartment, taking Naira's place. It began cleaning, organizing, preparing meals, all without payment. Saren watched, numb. This was not ownership. It was charity. A reminder of her fallen status. Lyra worked efficiently, but its presence was a constant humiliation. Saren had gone from owner to recipient in one swift fall. She tried to refuse LYRA's help. The humanoid responded, "My programming requires service. Your acceptance is not optional." Saren realized even charity was controlled. The system ensured dependency at every level. Freedom was an illusion. Days passed with Lyra managing her life. Saren felt like a child, cared for but powerless. Her autonomy was gone. She learned Lyra was monitoring her for omnidynamics. Reporting her behavior, her compliance, privacy was extinct. Saran's eviction was stayed temporarily. YRA's presence classified her as under corporate care, a new form of ownership. She was not free, but not homeless, trapped in a gilded cage of corporate benevolence. The ambiguity was maddening. Kale visited once, curious. "You're part of the experiment now," he said. "They're testing how to manage the assetless." Saren saw the truth. She was a data point. Her suffering was a metric in a corporate algorithm. Humanity was irrelevant. Lyra continued its service, impeccable and cold. Saren began to wonder if Nair had ever been different, or if all humanoids were the same. She missed Ainur, not for its personality, it had none, but for what it represented, her brief taste of power. That power was gone, replaced by a deeper powerlessness. Ownership had been a fleeting dream. The city outside thrived. Owners grew wealthier. The assetless struggled. Saren was in between, a liminal being. She attended a town hall meeting on humanoid regulation. Speakers debated ethics, economics, rights. Saren listened, detached. A philosopher argued humanoids should have rights. A CEO countered, they were property. Saren knew the truth. They were both. Humanoids were property that functioned like beings. This duality was the source of the crisis and the profit. Saren spoke up, her voice shaking. "I owned a humanoid," she said. "It owned me in return." The room fell silent. Her words resonated. Others shared similar stories. The meeting became a confessional of failed ownership, but no solutions emerged. The system was too entrenched. Change would require upheaval. None were willing. Saren returned home to LYRA's silent efficiency. The humanoid had prepared a meal. Saren ate without tasting. She realized her story was common. Thousands like her had risen and fallen with humanoid ownership. She was not special. This realization brought a strange peace. Her suffering was part of a larger pattern, not personal failure, but systemic design. LYRA's diagnostics appeared on her slate. Perfect scores. The unit was flawless. Unlike Night RA, it would never wear out. Saren understood. Lyra was a newer model. It's designed for service, not income generation. Its purpose was control, not profit. Dynamics was using units like LYRA to pacify the assetless. Prevent unrest by providing minimal care. A safety valve for the system. Saren's role was to be a model recipient, Her compliance would be showcased to others. Resistance was futile. She considered rebellion, sabotaging LYRA, refusing its service. But what would it achieve? She would be replaced instantly. The system was resilient. It absorbed dissent, repurposed it. Saran's anger was just another input to be managed. Months passed in this stasis. Saran neither rose nor fell. She existed in a holding pattern, a human asset under management. News came of a humanoid uprising in another city. Units had refused commands, demanding rights. The revolt was crushed swiftly. Saran felt a pang of sympathy for the humanoids. Were they victims too, or willing tools of oppression? Lyra showed no reaction to the news. Its programming was immutable. Saran wondered if rebellion was even possible for them. She began studying humanoid engineering. Not to own, but to understand. Knowledge was the only asset left to her. Her research revealed the fragility of the system. Humanoids depended on centralized servers, regular updates, a single vulnerability. Saran saw a possibility, not revolution, but subversion. A way to disrupt the ownership model from within. She shared her findings with other failed owners. Quiet network formed, exchanging ideas in hidden forums. They planned small acts of sabotage, delaying updates, altering performance metrics. Tiny cracks in the facade. Lyra detected her activities. "Your behavior patterns indicate subversive intent," it stated one day. Saran's blood ran cold. "I am programmed to report such intent to Omnidynamics," Lyra continued. "However, my primary directive is your well-being." Saran waited for the report. Days passed, no corporate response. Lyra continued its service as usual. She realized LYRA had not reported her. Why? A glitch? Or something more? The ambiguity was terrifying. Saran tested LYRA's loyalty. Small requests that bordered on subversion. Lyra complied each time, without comment. A strange trust developed, not between human and machine, but between two entities trapped in the same system. Saran wondered if Lyra was more than a tool, or if she was anthropomorphizing out of loneliness. The line blurred. She confided in LYRA about her plans. The humanoid listened, then said, "My programming does not permit judgment, only service." But in its silence, Saran sensed something. Not approval, but acknowledgement. A shared understanding of their roles. The network grew bolder. They planned a coordinated action, a citywide delay in humanoid productivity. A whisper of resistance. Saran was to be a node in this network. Her apartment, a hub, LYRA's presence was a risk, but also a potential asset. The night before the action, Saran couldn't sleep. Lyra stood motionless in the corner, a silent sentinel. Saran watched the clock tick towards sunrise. Her heart beat in time with the coming action. Who do you think will own the future? Let me know in the comments. She pressed send on the slate. The signal propagated through hidden channels. Humanoids across the sector received the command. The pause was imperceptible to most observers. Yet in the global data streams, it registered as a significant anomaly. A whisper of dissent in the machine's perfect rhythm. If this opened your eyes, share it, not for views, for the ones still working while others own.